Okay, my friends, here it is. The Saturday morning live stream at the Garden Like a Viking headquarters, Zone 5/6, Northern Indiana. We had a few technical difficulties this morning. That's why we're 18 minutes late instead of just our standard 5 or 10. So, guys, let us know, where are you at? Okay, even if you're watching it after the fact, let us know in the comments, where are you at? What are you growing this year? What kind of hopes and dreams do you have for your upcoming growing season? Because we know it's that time of year. And what kind of, let's see. And what kind of things do you have started? Okay. And I use the S word, I know. What kind of things do you have started? But first tell us what zone you're in and when your last frost date is. Okay. And then we'll know if you're rookie or beginner. Beginners always start way too early because they can't take the anticipation. They just can't take it. So they just have to do something. I just got to get a jump on it. It is better to wait a little bit too long than too early, okay? So we'll get into all of that today. It's going to be a seed starting special after my last video, especially where I show you guys how to make the secret soil recipe, which isn't super secret. It's just really effective. And so we're going to speak in depth about that. And we're going to speak a little bit about some options, some other things we can do, okay? So, there we go, Freebird. That is the correct answer. In Indiana, nothing started yet. Onions this week. Yes. Okay. I have onions and celery started. And even that is just 2 or 3 weeks earlier than I normally would. I just want to see how they respond to being that early. I think they'll be fine, especially the onions will be fine. But, I've heard people in this zone talk about starting January 1st. Their onions January for I'm thinking, I don't know what you're growing or what your seed starting setup is like, that it would take that long. But hey, everyone's got their system. But we don't need to, you actually want them to spend sort of as little time as possible indoors, really. Just enough to get started up and then get established. Okay. So we will discuss here in a little bit why even start anything indoors. What's even the advantage? So let's see here. B. Hendricks says, "Big up, Nate. Dig the new video just dropped." Thank you, my friend. Yes, that is the answer to the soil dilemma, which is actually soilless growing medium. Okay. Oh yes, Jay Dixon says, "Nate is now live. Hit reload if you do not see him now." Yes. Thank you for that. Okay. Prodigal Gardener says, "We do onions early in Florida so we can get a harvest before we heat up." Okay, I can understand. Florida could be different. Florida could be quite different. Now, remember, it's the fundamentals always remain the same, but the timing and techniques slightly will change. Yes. So, let's see here. Who is here? Yes. Someone called Viking Lost and Found. Yeah, right here, my friend. No worries. I was gathering the supplies, and I was also had to put a few last-minute links in the description for you guys because I want you to have direct access to exactly what we're going to talk about here in a little bit, because I get all kinds of questions, obviously. And so it's good to, some people just want a quick little, answer in like an 8-minute video, okay? Which that's totally fine. That's why I make full length, or that's why I make those videos. Some people can't even take that. They just need it in like a 52-second, short. Just give me what I need to know so I can get on to the next thing quick, before my attention fractures. A lot of people are like that, so you have to make shorts for that, which is fine. One of my shorts got 8 million views on Instagram, just about the onions and the board. So that's fine. That's totally fine. But some of us like a more in-depth, actual exchange of knowledge. And that's really what these are about, the live streams. We can talk more at depth because we've got longer attention spans and things like that. So that's where the real value, in my opinion, is found, is talking about things in depth, especially once you gain a little bit of proficiency and you're not a beginner, straight up beginner anymore. Then you like to go more in depth. Yeah, I know this for sure. Um, Megan McGuire says, my family and I are making homemade sausage while we are listening to Nate. Nice. Shout out to Megan McGuire's family. Good luck with the sausage. What kind of spices are you guys putting in? I've been experimenting. You remember we had some talk about, I was asking you guys how to make our own bratwurst because we got loads of ground pork from the pastured hog that we got. And lots and lots of ground pork, of course. Super delicious, very good stuff. Pastured, 100%, you know, full exposure to the sun. So full vitamin D content and all the stuff. And I was asking you guys how to make bratwurst. And there was several opinions on it, which were fantastic. And I was looking at a bratwurst machine stuffer for the KitchenAid mixer that I have, the original one from Viking Uncle, Hobart, yeah, before they became generic. So got a real good KitchenAid mixer, and I was going to use their thing to stuff the casings. But then I was like, you know what? But why? Well, why can't I just mix in all? Because then I have to thaw it out and then mix it all, package it, and then refreeze it. You know. Or eat it right away, in which case you can't eat that many right away. So I was like, you know, well, why don't I just learn how to mix the spices in with the sauce or with the ground pork? Because that's all I really care about. I'm not going to eat it on like a bun, you know. We don't eat it on buns and stuff. So it came to me, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start experimenting by adding the spices that sausage or breakfast sausage or bratwurst would require and see how that goes. So far, it's been amazing. I just take the ground pork and season it like bratwurst or season it like sausage and breakfast sausage. And it's so good that way. So unless you're going to eat it, I mean, someone explained to me, you know, is that incorrect? I mean, what would be the advantage? If you're not going to eat it on a bun, we don't really eat bread like that. If you're not going to eat it on a bun, then what's the advantage of putting it into a sausage? Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing. Big Will Dog says, Nate, I did start my onions on January 10th, only because I wanted to test my new seed mix and I overseed and prick out to cells. Understandable. You know, onions are the one thing that you could do, you know, but once you have so you're experimenting and you're learning and all that, it was fantastic. But once you've like decided, okay, this is my system, then you don't have to start that early. You can, but even onions and stuff, unless you've got a top tier seed starting setup, and even then, and I'm talking with grow lights, like if you had some high pressure sodiums or something like that, 1,000 watts, you know, with butterfly hoods, something like that, even then, they're not going to transition to the outside very well because there's not the huge fluctuations in temperature extremes. That's one big thing. You know, like right now, it's super overcast and going to be very cool, you know, I mean, and it will heat up and cool down. In your grow room, it's just constant. It's always a nice sunny day at the beach. That's what we used to say. I used to love working in grow rooms. I mean, of course, it was always, even when it was raining and foggy and cold and stuff, put on the shades, the grow goggles. Yeah, so you can see the actual colors through the high pressure sodium spectrums. Go in there and take your shirt off, man, and just soak up the ultraviolets, which is great. Yeah. So guys, I'm getting a few. We're getting a few donations. I appreciate that. So let's see here. We got Brian Eri, $5. Thank you for your consistent contribution, my friend. And says, much peace, my Viking friend. Keep an eye out. Got you a book on sausage making. Nice. That would be cool. Thank you. I will definitely do that. I'm always about trying to learn more, and well, that'll sort it out. I mean, that's a good source of knowledge. Yes, great source of knowledge. Thank you. Unless you're kidding, in which case I didn't get it. It went over my head. Cole Besaw, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, just wanted to say hi. Thanks for all the great info you provide. Absolutely, my friend. Yes, we will be doing that consistently now for the rest of the season. So if you guys have content ideas or suggestions, you got to let me know, okay? Things that you want to see. You haven't even seen the new garden yet. It's a thing of beauty. I've been staring at it out the window all winter and just like, wow, it's a thing of beauty to me. I mean, it's very, very nice. It's just boards, you know, it's going to last 3 to 5 years, but that's fine. That's all the longer we need this place. And then we're going to be on to the land. So, but for now, it's just beautiful. And so I will show the whole video of how that was done, and how we made these beds to be very resilient. So it doesn't matter if we have a super drought season or a monsoon season. This setup can handle both. The drought, obviously, you have to irrigate, but now it's set up for irrigation. Okay, to irrigate in ground, just full on in ground is difficult. It's difficult. Takes a lot more water because them roots, just for many reasons. Okay, if you want to know, you can ask me and I can explain it in depth. But ooh, look at you with these jokes. It says, can February March? No, but April May. Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. $5. Thank you very much, Lisa. Appreciate the contribution. Yes, you are in the South, so you probably have some things started already. It would be reasonable if you had some things started already. Prodigal Gardener says, Nate, we need an update video on your garden. Oh yeah, there's going to be one coming soon. So I'll be able to use the full footage of the demolition and then the incorporation of everything, because I had years worth of soilless growing media that I had. You know, each year you invest a little bit more and you get a few more bales of peat moss, you get a few more things of perlite. You know, like the video I just made the other day, that's the recipe right there. I mean, that's all you need. And then you can add things like the Viking granular, which I'm going to show you, to it, or something similar, even though there isn't anything comparable on the market. But after several years, this stuff doesn't break down. You know, it doesn't really break down. And so you will end up with, after like 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to have 1,000 gallons of this stuff. You know, so you can incorporate that, and that's what we did. That's what I did, is incorporate that into the new soil and just mix it all in there really good. That stuff was so rich and so black and so just full of life. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So we got it into the beds. I wanted it to sit all winter and rest, and the fungi and everything to recover. I wanted it to have the full winter to recover, and it's looking beautiful. It's looking beautiful. Quick says, what happened to the old microphone? Oh yeah, is this one working? Is this one working? Is it working, guys? I sure hope so. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Perlite. What did I say? The old microphone is fine. It's just that it clips. It would click, 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 click. It would make that clicking sound. And so, and it's kind of like big and in my face, I guess, but this thing apparently doesn't do the clipping sound, so that's good. Yeah, that's good. Even though the sound is still terrible on this compared to what it used to be in the YouTube mobile app, but they took away this method. You have to, they force you now to go this way, to go the up way, which is absurd. And because I can't share show and tell and stuff. So I have to use this StreamYard, but I'm still using it on an iPad. So it's still the mobile app. So the sound quality, I don't really get it. Whatever. You guys can hear me, right? Yes. Let's see here. Instinct Karma says, are there any books / other people or channels, resources you personally recommend for ways of fertilizing things organically, as well as ways of correcting nutrient deficiencies? You know, I mean, there's several people, well, for that specific thing, I would have to think on that. I would have to think on that. There's lots of other people that I talk about and recommend, yes. Tony from Simplified Gardening. Another good one for our area is MI Gardener, definitely. He knows his stuff. Although he's not into so much the soil food web and the homemade fertilizers and stuff like that. He's got a lot of knowledge about crops themselves, and because he's been doing it since he was a kid, you know, and so he's he's been doing it like 16. He's got like videos from 16 years ago or something like that, 15 years ago when YouTube first was starting. So he's definitely one of the OGs. So there's I'll have to think about that and come back to it. Yeah, because I don't want to say like a name and stuff because I haven't seen or researched everyone's stuff, and so I don't know if I approve of all of the stuff that they're saying. You know, I don't know. So, VA Green, talking about all these grow lights and warmth in the greenhouse now. I'm really wanting to go put up my greenhouse. Yes, you definitely can. Make sure you got that thing bolted down. Okay, Meyer Lemon says, don't need to put it into casings or anything. Patties, meatballs, omelets, Italian sausage for pasta and pizza. Endless possibilities. Yes, that's pretty much what I've come to. That you don't need to case it, but it's all about the spices. Okay. Signal Law says, Nate, can you substitute Coco Coir for the peat moss? Probably don't need the lime. You can. Yes, you can, and I have several years. You know, so I've got the bricks of the Coir. Yes. And we use this stuff, you know, we used to use it more than we do now. Because I was also for a while under the assumption, the sort of illusion that, oh no, the peat moss takes millions of years to regenerate, and it's destroying, you know, the ecosystems, and it's a non-renewable resource and all of this stuff. But the more research I've done into it over the past couple of years, that's actually not really true. It's actually not really true. And so there's several other resources that if you begin to investigate this and not just rely on the mainstream, like people reposting what they hear on Instagram and stuff like that, you can quickly come to the understanding that it was probably an aggressive marketing campaign by the coconut industry to demonize the peat moss industry, you know. So we can talk more about that in depth if you guys wanted to, but I don't need to get too big into it right now. One thing that I can say, Greg, thank you very much, my friend. $30 holla via PayPal. Can you substitute Coir for the peat? Would you then not use the lime? Okay, got it. So yes, you can. Now, you don't need to use the lime at that point. That's correct, because the peat is somewhat acidic, and I have direct experience with that. If you plant in just direct peat moss with nothing else, plants don't like to thrive in that. They really don't. So adding the lime, though, but it has to be that pulverized lime, greatly increases the chances of things thriving. Okay. Ooh, yeah, Masabi Gal says says at Mo, worm castings and vermiculite are two very different things. Oh yeah, totally apples and oranges. Yeah. So yes, now the thing about the peat, okay, here's what I wanted to investigate real quick. So let us see here. Okay, so let me get to my account real quick, and I'm going to search how much it was that I Coir search. Let's see, and okay, so for these bricks that I got, Coco Bliss, Coco Coir, and they were the cheapest ones that I could find for this need, and it was let's see here, $34. Okay, so $34 for 10 of these bricks. Now, I thought it was going to do a lot more than it does. One of these bricks doesn't really do that much. So it can do about 2 trays, 10 by 20 trays. It would only do pretty much one of these trays, okay? Because this is what we got here. This is what we're going to talk about here, is the Bootstrap Farmer trays, which I'm loving. And this is much more soil than would be in one of the 10, 20 trays. I haven't done the math, but I can just tell, you know, that there's more soil in here because of the height. And so a brick would probably do one of these trays, you know, so we would get 10 trays out of that for $35. But that doesn't even bring into account the perlite or the worm castings, you know, so that's going to be much more expensive. It's going to turn out to be much, much more expensive. That's why I quit using it, because it's like several dollars per tray just to use it, you know. So it is a personal thing. If you live in a country where this is easily accessible, okay, now not everyone's got Canada right north of them, which Canada has a lot of peat, okay? So I just want to read something real quick to you guys, okay? Because I've received...
Don't like to use stagnant peat moss because they fear that they're taking...
Got an MI Gardener short up there because I was researching this, other people's opinion on this. Now, we've got Gardener Scott, who's going to be on the show on the 22nd, okay? So Gardener Scott's going to be on the show. He made a video, it was like 6 years ago now, about Coco versus peat. And there's a lot of good comments. I mean, the video is good information. There's also a lot of good comments, okay? So I want to read to you guys one of these. Okay, good. You guys got perlite. Okay, thank you. Need more cowbells. So on his video, Gardener Scott's video about perlite and peat moss, there's one blacksmith den left a comment. Okay, so I just want to read it to you guys, and this is in line with what I've been researching as well. Okay, when you say the environmental impact of the unsustainable harvesting of peat moss, you know, lots of comments like that already. So I'm just going to read you this comment. It's a little bit long, but it's well worth it. Okay, I take it to be. I mean, I take this to be true. This guy's firsthand experience says, I worked as a heavy equipment mechanic at a peat harvesting operation for years. Yes, they strip off the top couple of feet, not because it's a living layer, but because everything below that is too wet. There are millions in caps, millions of square kilometers of peat bog in Canada alone, and the peat harvesting industry hasn't touched even a fraction of 1% of it. It's true. The figures say 0.003% of total peat bogs have been developed. Whoops. And so, okay, let me go back to that. It says, in Canada alone, the peat harvesting industry hasn't touched even a fraction of 1% of it. He says, I have zero doubt that the coconut industry are the ones responsible for slagging the peat industry in the first place. They never mentioned that they clear huge amounts of forest in order to put in coconut plantations. They also ignore the extra energy it takes to refine cocoa coir and the extra fuel it takes to ship it. It does not take millions of years for a peat bog to regenerate. The place I worked at, listen, the place I worked at has been in the area for about 60 years, and you can't even tell that anything was done in the areas they harvested back when they started up. It's unbelievable how much nonsense there is floating around about the peat moss industry. When in doubt, follow the money, and I bet my lunch the nonsense was started by the coconut industry in order to get the guilt-ridden to buy their product. Blah, 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 a little bit more. Okay, so that to me is very reasonable. That makes, using common sense, that makes sense. Man, it is getting dark. That makes sense, and I could see that being the case, okay? I don't know if I've seen it this dark during the day in a long time. So we always just have to take into consideration, okay, so who would profit from this, you know, and do our own research into it. And several other channels have spoken on the peat moss stuff. So I don't have a firm opinion, or I don't know for a fact either way. You know, I'm still learning about it, investigating it. I'm still feeling it out, but I'm confident enough to use peat moss. It's not a problem. Because yes, I have personally seen the coconut farms traveling in India. Like virtually all of southern India has just been cleared and is coconut plantations. I mean, just thousands and thousands of miles square or kilometers, I don't know, big areas of coconut plantations. And in Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, just rainforest, cleared coconut plantations. You know, so there's trade-offs to each of it. So, that is my opinion on that, okay? So let us see here. Yes, and VA Green says the Canadian peat moss very well managed from my understanding. Yes, that is true as well. You can look and see that for like 20 years there's been laws in place to manage the sustainable harvesting of the peat moss. So I'm not feeling like it's a big deal. Man, I know, Freebird, James, yeah. If you guys haven't heard about it already, let me break the news to you. James Prigioni, Tuck. He lost Tuck. Yeah, his dearest companion, his dog. So if you guys have ever watched his channel, for sure you've liked Tuck. So yeah, no doubt it's rough on him right now. That being said, I think the dog was 14 years old, and for a dog, for those small designer dogs, that's a long life. That's a long life. So we at least, you know, we can't say that it was like a tragic, you know, he died of old age, which is all any dog could hope for, really. Let's see here. Whoops. Eden 3D, €5. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, hi, Nate. Can I still plant garlic? We have no frost now, so I can put it in the ground, but we will have some frost before March, zone 8. Yes, you can. It won't be quite as big and vigorous as in the springtime or as in the fall time. And you have a good chance of it being puny. You know, it's just up to the gardening gods of what that's going to happen or not, because I've grown it. I've done it several years in the springtime on certain plots, and you will get a harvest. Whoops. You will get a harvest. You'll definitely get scapes, which are great. So choose a hardneck variety and get scapes. Yes. But if you're going to plant it now, go ahead and put it in the freezer, or at least in the refrigerator, but the freezer for like a week, 10 days, perfect. And then plant it. Yeah. But, or you can just plant it outside. But yeah, you absolutely, it will grow. You're just not going to get them big, nice bulbs that you would if you planted it in the spring. Now, that being said, I have planted it in the spring, and some of them do become nice, big bulbs, indistinguishable from the fall planted garlic, but most of them don't. So, but yes, you absolutely can. Yeah, Melanie McManus, when are you getting chickens? Gateway Homestead birds. Yeah, when I get the land, definitely. We're going to get us some, what was it? Buff Orpingtons, right? Them things looked delicious. Yes. So let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so Instant Karma says, I heard that between 75 and 90% of seed diversity has been lost within the last 100 years. And I noticed that companies that sell seeds tend to sell the exact same varieties. Have you noticed this as well? Oh, absolutely. Yes, this is true. This is true. That a huge diversity of seeds have been lost. Definitely. There's no doubt about that. John Jandai, Life is Easy. It's a great channel. And he's got a lot of good things to say. And he has made several videos that really illustrate this point very well. So you can check those out. He can really illustrate those points very well because he comes from the villages. You know, he comes from the people living more in line with how they've lived for a very long time. So I can't say firsthand that I know that something is that we've lost 70 to 90%. I don't know that, but you can just tell. You can just tell that as industrial ag spreads everywhere, and you drive through the Midwest, and for hours you just see corn and soybeans and some wheat, and that's it. Miles and miles, as far as you can see in every direction, with little tiny patches of trees here and there just because they have to be left by law. Just little tiny patches here and there. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's pure ecocidal devastation. And to plant genetically modified corn and soybeans and wheat, and that's it. And in some areas, potatoes and whatnot. But, oh yeah, freezing rain, nice. So yes, now, well, I don't want to get into that right now. So, Kip Tap says, Nate, where'd you get the big black tub in your last video? It looks stout. Yes, it is very stout, and I got it from Menards. It's a concrete mixing tub. So go to the hardware store or wherever, probably a big store, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards. Menards is the cheapest of all, for sure. And just go to the concrete section, and these are the tubs designed for mixing concrete. Yeah. Let's see. Look to Nature says, did you say we can slip our sweet potatoes now? Yes, you can start them. Definitely. Christopher Minnell. Oh man, how awesome is this? Nice heavy rain. Can you hear it? Oh my gosh. Let me just look real quick. Guys, I love rain so much. Except it's not rain, it's sleet. That's why it's so loud. It's sleet and a little bit hail maybe. But solar panel farms, look out. So Christopher Minnell says, Nate, it's our peak summertime. Which type of fertilizer can I feed my ginger plants during the growing season? So that depends. What did you amend with? Okay. Remember, guys, as your season is coming up, what is more important than any of the liquid fertilizers that you can make is your base fertilizer, what you put into the soil. That is the most important. And if you do that right, all the plants will need is water. Although you can boost their productivity big time and their health by doing certain things, of course. But what goes into the actual soil for their roots is the most important. So we don't want to, and I see it all the time, people they'll get potting mix, which is, there's no soil in any of this. They're soilless growing mediums, remember that. And they will fill a grow bag or something, or fill their raised bed with it. And then they'll put their plants in there, and then they'll start asking me, hey, what can I fertilize these with? And it's like, okay, well, what'd you put in the base fertilizer? Well, I've got Coco, Coir, or I've got peat moss and vermiculite and perlite. Oh, okay. Well, there's nothing for the plants to eat. So you're going to rely on basically 100% your liquid fertilizers. They will never do as good unless you're doing chemical farming, of course, unless you're doing general hydroponics, micro bloom and micro veg and grow, unless you're chemical farming, that's different. Organic farming, that's not the way to go. They're never going to be nearly as healthy. And I'm not saying you did this, I'm just using it as a talking point, but they'll never be as good and healthy and vigorous as they would be if you took that same mix and added 20% worm castings or 20 or 30% compost. Yeah, compost is ultimate. I mean, well-made compost is the ultimate. So if you added that to the mix, or some manure, if you did it right, be careful with the manures these days, unfortunately. But then there would be very little need. You would just need microbial solutions. Okay, so that's why I asked. So what did you put in the base fertilizer? Because if you put in the base fertilizer well enough, then you want to stick with microbial solutions with mild fertilizers. Okay, so that would be things like the. Let me answer that question here in a minute. I want to get to these. Got a few donations. Gary Smith, thank you, my friend, for your consistent contribution. Doesn't even ask a question, just wants to contribute. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys, big time. And Donald Hughes, $5 as well. Thank you very much. Says thanks for the Viking knowledge. Yes, you're welcome. Hope that you have good success with the sweet potatoes this year. Yeah, 4th year's a charm. Or whatever year it is for you. I think 3rd. So let me see. Did I miss anyone? Did I miss anyone? I got like a barrage of them here for a minute. But Greg Day, I think I said, okay, yes. Okay, thanks, guys. So which type of fertilizer? Now, that's why I asked. I don't think I'll even be able to see if you answered that. But, I mean, there's too many questions or comments. So, but if you, that's why I just want to look real quick and see. I can't see. But anyways, there is if you did the soil right, okay, so the best thing, so now let us just assume that you didn't do it right, all right? And that you did it sort of not right. In which case you will need an ample amount of fertilizer, all right? So in that case, if you were like, yeah, I didn't really amend it with anything, then, okay, so now we're going to want to make aerated compost tea, okay? And then you're going to want to add the fish fertilizer afterward. Fish fertilizer is king. That's pretty much the king of all the liquid fertilizers as far as nutrients go, okay? Remember, there's not much nutrients in the aerated compost tea. It's about microbial life, which unlocks what is already in the soil, okay? But with the recipes I use and give to you guys, there is definitely NPK in it, and calcium, magnesium, all that stuff. But at the end, okay, after it's done brewing, then you can add the fish fertilizer, copious amounts of it. You can add quite a bit of it, all right? If you have made, what fertilizers have you made? At the end, you can add some ash as well and incorporate that into it, some of the ash fertilizer. You can add that in there as well. Now, if we want to use ash, I found the best way to use ash over the years is to watch the video that I made about mixing it in the right ratio and then let it all sit and settle, all right? And then that liquid is going to have all the water-soluble stuff in it, but you're not going to get the solids that will clog up your pumps and your spray nozzles. So then you can very gingerly scoop off the required amount and pour it into the finished brew, okay? But all that stuff we put in after the brew has happened. Watch the video on that. So it's hard saying. That's a hard saying, okay? Nate, check out Australops for hardiness and lots of eggs. Nice. You know what I liked about the buff was the it was so pretty. It just looked appetizing. It looked like the buff Orpington when I was there, and he's got like 15 different kinds of birds. I mean, so many different kinds of birds, like 100 birds, chickens, and at least like a dozen or 2 dozen different kinds. I don't even know. But the ones that looked to me like, ooh, I want to eat that bird right now, was the buff Orpington. And so that's good enough for me. It looks the most appetite. The other ones, they're chickens. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And they'll make chicken, of course, but they didn't look as appetizing for some reason. So. Yes. Shawnee Grows says, adaptation agriculture is great to read about. Joseph Lofthouse, Landrace gardening. Now, okay, let's talk about that for a moment, because I have just to really put it, because I'm constantly in the pursuit of knowledge and other people's knowledge and stuff. Look, arriving tomorrow by 10, the Landrace gardening book. Joseph Lofthouse, because I have exposure to the concept, of course, and but I want to read the book. I want to read the actual book and see the philosophy so that I can give you a more in-depth answer. Now, what I can give you at this point, though, is a couple of things. One is that people that talk to me about landrace gardening, okay, and reference Lofthouse, and there's a lot of people that do that, but a lot of times they are just wanting to grow without really having to learn the fundamentals of growing. They think it's going to be easier, and so I'll say, okay, well, show me your plot, your landrace plots, and it's kind of like their permaculture plot, which turns out to be just kind of mostly weeds, you know. So I'm looking at the weeds, and I'm like, okay, so where's like the food that you're harvesting? Oh well, there's like this landrace now here. It's really hardy. See, I didn't have to water it or do anything to it, and I can pick like a couple of these leaves off, and there's like a couple berries from here and there from my permaculture and my landrace stuff. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's perfectly fine if that's what you're into. That whole hobby of growing, like kind of the, growing a land race type thing, and your permaculture thing where you don't have to do anything to it, and it just kind of whatever happens, sorts itself out. I've never seen that actually produce high quality food in amounts that make it worthwhile, unless you've got tons of land where you can just basically let a lot of it go fallow in a way, except still producing if you do it right. I've definitely seen some that are done right. But for every one that's done right, many that just kind of let things go. And so they will think that, and here's the thing, when they want to plant a bunch of different things and see which one thrives in their area, they're already, unless you already have your system down, you already understand growing, you already understand the soil food web, you already understand watering and light cycles, nutrient cycling, all of that stuff. And unless you've already got that on point, there is no way to tell that what was causing the downfall of some of the varieties was because they're just not acclimated to your area. That's more of like a cop-out. In my experience, this is just my opinion without reading the book first yet, but I know I have enough exposure to understand the principles. That may change when I read the book, okay? So that's the disclaimer, okay? But for the most part, I find it most beneficial, especially if you're new or even remotely new, unless you consider yourself pretty much an expert, then you want to plant specific varieties and you want to intentionally plant what you're going to harvest, okay? And you want to do it in such a way that maximizes your input, okay? There is ways, that's what Garden Like a Viking is all about, is that we are growing food, growing sustenance, okay? Nutrient-dense food to nourish mind, body, and soul, okay? So that's our goal. If your goal is to, have a land race thing and be like a breeder where you want to like cross-pollinate this and that, that's super cool. That's its own thing, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about intentionally growing stuff that is going to fuel your mind, body, and soul with nutrient-dense produce and going to actually feed you and your family, okay? Food security, thriving micronutrients, all of that kind of stuff, life force energy in the food, the highest quality possible produce, okay? And so focus on that instead, okay? Because once you focus on the basics, you will be able to grow virtually anything, anywhere, for the most part. So I guarantee you that I could take a plant that someone says, well, it only does well in my area because it's landrace and I've been growing it. It's been interbreeding with these other plants and it kind of produces this and that. It only grows well in Atlanta. I'm almost positive I could grow it well here as well. Okay, we can just say it like that. So my thing is focus on what we know works, the proven varieties, okay? And focus on the soil. And you can grow any variety. All right. So that's the talk for now and my experience up to this point. In a couple of weeks, I will have read the whole book and we will see where we go. Taylor Reindl, $10. Thank you, my friend. Says, does the Viking nutrients contain humates and azimuth? Azimite, you're talking about? Yes. Ample amounts. Ample amounts. It's got everything that you need, guys. Remember, this Viking granular nutrients, which will be available in just a couple of weeks, came from the school of Northern California, okay? In the time when growing there was, well, before it was cool, we could say. And so this stuff is proven to work, all right? And so I just had to redo things a little bit for the home gardener because when we were growing in Northern California, money was not, it didn't matter. It just, if it worked, it doesn't matter what the cost is, just throw it at it, get it to work, you know? So, but the home gardener money is a factor, okay? So you had to change it up a little bit. And the plants that we grow in the veg garden are not quite as high octane. So it's been rearranged a bit, but this is how it will be available, guys. Look, 5-gallon buckets, okay? 40 pounds of product at a time. And it will, let me see right here. Let me grab this thing for you guys so that I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. It's a 1 part, and I tweaked it a little bit to be less dusty, much less dusty. I got the granular varieties of certain things instead of the powdered, which will be totally fine because these type of granulars are actually powdered and then reconstituted. Okay, so here's what it's going to look like, and it's got everything that the plants need, literally. You can grow in soilless growing media with no nutrients or microorganisms. Add this stuff in the appropriate amounts and water, and you're good to go. Now, if you want to enhance it, you can do aerated compost teas. You can do foliar sprays with the, and I highly recommend it, do foliar sprays with the fish fertilizer, stuff like that. You can definitely enhance it. But if you just want a 1-part thing, you don't got to mess with tractor loads of manures and all that kind of stuff, then that's what I've developed it for, okay? Not saying that any one of you need it, but if you want it, it's available, okay? So I'm just testing the waters to see if this is a viable thing for the future, you know, because we have to finance the land somehow. So, and YouTube AdSense is certainly not going to do it. So we need to branch off into other stuff and see how are we going to finance the land and the school, you know? So this is a possible option. We'll see. So if you guys want it, I'll have a website available in just a couple of weeks. I will have as many buckets as you want available. So that's what that is, okay? And yes, it's got humic acid, fulvic acid, it's got azomite, all the trace minerals, it's everything that you need, okay? So it's gonna have a high cation exchange capacity, okay? It's gonna be ideal to hold on to those nutrients in the soils, even in sandy soils and stuff like that. It will really help to hold on to nutrients, okay? Masabi Gal says, how do we get it? There will be a website real soon. I'm in the process of building it, so it will be available in a couple of weeks. I will have it set up so that you just click, enter your payment information or your address or whatever. You know, there's a couple of options I still got to choose as far as the checkout page and stuff like that. But I want to make it mostly so that you use either PayPal, Venmo, CashApp, or Apple Pay, or I guess enter your card details. I mean, for the old schoolers, that's fine. I never like that. When I see a website, I'm pretty much to the point, unless I really want the thing, if they don't offer one of those methods of payment, I don't even get it. I'm not going to enter my card details on all these different websites and stuff. That's just me. But so, because I like the middleman. I like PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Stripe, Shopify. I like those middlemen because it's more secure, much more secure and convenient. So, So that's right, Sam. How's about them OG stickers? I know. Those mythical OG stickers that are getting sent out in the mythical time frame. I know. They'll get sent out to you guys that wanted them. What I am actually waiting for is that the new logo is almost done. It's pretty awesome. I mean, to me, it's exactly what I needed. I can recommend this guy, at least right now. It's almost done. So it's not fully complete yet, but I'm all about it. So it's going to go, we're going to put it on hats. We're going to put it on merch. We're going to put it on all kinds of stuff. Okay. Including stickers. So to the old school guys, or old school in the fall, that sent an envelope or that they wanted the OG stickers, I'll send you both. Okay. So, Wayne Gorilla free shipping. Yeah, right. Sorry, my friend. We're not Amazon. Teeth says, I'm still mad at myself that I didn't buy the Viking granular last year. Well, guess what? You're going to have an opportunity to correct that. Yeah, even though you're in San Francisco, so I'm going to be eating that shipping costs. Guys, the shipping costs are astronomical. They really are. But it's a flat fee, and the fee that will be presented is with shipping. So some of them, like San Francisco, I'm going to take a loss on the shipping, but some of them, the closer ones, a little bit, you'll get a little bit, it kind of equals out. So unless I can figure out some kind of way to, I don't know yet, but I want to be able to say it's just this price, this price, nice and easy, one part stuff. That's all we want. Okay. We're not trying to get all complicated. Meyer Lemon says, Nate, how long do the Viking nutrients last? Well, it's possible to grow with just one heavy planting in the spring. Okay, incorporating it into the soil a bit. Best results are from amending mid-season as well. So 2 will give you full power all season. Okay, like last year, I grew tomatoes in a 2 by 2 by 1 squares. Okay, each 2.5 by 2.5 by 1 box, open to the ground, and I filled it with these bags of soilless growing media that I had. Okay, these old bags that I wanted to regenerate, and so I put it in there, and I put in quite a bit. Tomatoes are hungry. I might have put in an entire quart. That's a lot. For those tomatoes, each one. And them things grew like Jurassic dinosaurs. Even in the 10-week drought that we got, and they had no water. They didn't catch diseases. They didn't nothing. They were just amazing, and they produced boatloads. But then when the rains did sort of start coming back, they sort of petered out a little bit, of course, with no rain. But then I amended side dressed, and kind of worked it into the top couple inches. And that was like in August, and they boom, went right back to producing boatloads. So that's how it goes, pretty much at planting time. That's the best time. If you've got, like for the fall garden, you want to re-amend during the fall. Okay. Lisa Turk, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, appreciate you, my friend. Yes, you too. Thank you very much. Also, Alberto, I got your message yesterday. Thank you, my friend. I hope you're doing well with everything. Yes. Well, we should have another one-on-one sometime. So, Big West says, the guy in the Azomite channel calls it azomite. Everyone says azomite, but we get it wrong. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it that way. It's like when I was out west, everybody thought the way that I said Detroit was peculiar, because there was a lot of people from Detroit out there for some reason growing, and they all call it Detroit, but I've never called it that. I've always called it Detroit. So let's see. Melanie McManus says, I'm in Canada. There's no way. Would you recommend or would you consider a video how to make it? Sorry, my friend. That's one thing that we cannot be, we've got to monetize our skills somehow. And the YouTube AdSense is not doing it. So we've got to, that will remain a secret recipe. Although I will have dry amendment fertilizers videos this year that you can get from the store. Yes, we will dive deep into just a handful of the best ones. Single ingredient, no mixes. There's nothing. The only thing that might compare to this, and that is even barely even a close, it's not even close, but it would be second, is the Miracle Grow Organics. That would be about the only thing. But even this dwarfs that. Sheila, if we're local, can we pick it up? Absolutely, yes. Yes. If you're local, you can pick it up, and we will work on that cost. We will take some of that shipping cost off, definitely. What's up, Brad Armstrong? Yes, Garden Warrior. Last says, at Garden, what about a quart or gallon size offering at some point? You are likely to make more pound of product and of course less shipping. Very true. That's very true. But for me at this time as a one-man band, that's a lot of footwork. Little quarts and little bags and Mylar bags and stuff, that's a lot of footwork. So for me, I can just, because I got this big mixer and I got this shop full of nutrients, this shed full of nutrients, pallets of nutrients. They're just sitting there waiting. So I got to mix them up, put the scale underneath, and dump it into these 5-gallon buckets. It's just streamlined, So we're going to see how it goes, but it's got to be 5-gallon buckets at this time, And they're easy to just take to the FedEx store and stuff like that. Yes, B. Hendricks, it's true. Sounds like Nate is providing us with properly priced product. Definitely. It will be cheaper still than the equivalent of Miracle Grow Organics. We can put it that way. And it's superior. So we don't need to discuss that. Oh, yeah. Alaska. Yeah, I don't think Alaska is going to happen, my friend. Yeah, I don't think Alaska is going to happen. Oh yeah, Look to Nature says, I've sent out a couple care packages and it's $7 just to send out a couple seeds. Yeah, I know. It was more than that to send out just the packages of the walking onions. Yeah, which are like weightless. Almost. I mean, it's crazy. Yes, guys, hit the like button. Make sure you hit that like button. That's not a joke, okay? Hit the like. Shooting the soil, my friend. Did you get my Instagram message? We want you on the show. So I sent you the dates. Our dates are filling up. So we're going to have, so far, Sean from Edible Acres, Gardener Scott. He's going to be our first one on the 22nd. And then Sean, and then, a couple of Nick from the Worm Farm. He's going to be on, definitely. So he knows his stuff about worms. Okay. So he's the de facto expert, in my opinion, about worms because he's been doing it and he does it. So on a scale that is significant. So that's, watch the video I made about that. If you guys have any kind of worm or soil, food web or nutrient cycling with the worms, anything about worms, he knows. Okay. But shooting the soil, we want you on as well. Okay. Yeah, Heather Fox says, I'm starting everything inside this year so they can get a good start. Everything kept getting mowed down by whatever last year. That's exactly why I also now, these past couple of years, start everything indoors. Well, I can't say literally everything, but everything except carrots and probably pole beans, rattlesnake pole beans this year. We're growing a whole huge mess of them back there. It's going to be the back wall. I'm going to show you guys how to make a nice permanent trellis for things. And but like cucumbers, I mean, even the things that I never used to do that before, once you get your system down, meaning that you don't stunt them, and you've got the proper lighting, you've got the 5 things that plants need. What are the 5 things that plants need? Light, water, air, nutrients, and it all has to happen at the right temperature, okay? So once you've got all those things dialed in, and your system, as far as not disturbing the roots, that is what then you can do it, okay? We can plant cucumbers. I started up beets last year with massive success. Start up beets. I know, it's crazy. And they all thrived. I mean, every one of them. I didn't lose a single one. And they're just all great, okay? So, a couple of things, okay? Look, guys, here's some Rejuvelac, okay? Ann Whitmore, right? Am I accrediting her correctly? Rejuvelac. And I actually found that it's pretty much equivalent to Labs without dairy. It's not quite as strong as far as starting things, but almost. And it's way easier to make, although you don't get any cheese, okay? So I'm thinking about doing a video on this, because look at that frothy goodness in there. It's all bubbly. Look, let's take a drink, okay? By the way, these things are awesome. They're in the Amazon storefront, and they're nice heavy duty. They're heavy, like old school shot glasses with a little pour spout. So I use them for all kinds of, and it's got all the milliliters, cups, or milliliters, ounces, tablespoons, teaspoons. But here's Rejuvelac, guys. And this stuff is delicious. Slightly effervescent, tangy, tastes a little bit like watermelon, almost like a little bit like the watermelon rind in a good way. Man, tastes like summertime. Tastes like summertime. Wow. Man, because my body knows what this is, that it's just packed full of beneficial microorganisms. My body's like, oh yes, yes, it loves that stuff. I mean, it just loves it. It welcomes it with open arms. It really does. So good. Man, I'm gonna have to keep. I'm gonna have another one. Hey, let's have another one. What do you think? Yeah. This is all we're taking shots of anymore these days, my friends. So let's see here now. Meyer Lemons, Nate. Also, how long do the nutrients store if you don't use them all in one season? Indefinitely. I mean, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Yeah, if you keep them sealed in the bucket that they come in, there's a nice bucket with a nice, very tightly sealed lid. They will last indefinitely, several seasons. Detroit. Oh, Detroit. It's French. Huh. Ooh. Happy Hoves Homestead says, in NorCal, our tomato plants just died a week ago. Man, that's pretty awesome. Means that it stayed temperate for a long time, eh? Nate J, $20. Thank you, my friend. I don't know if I've seen that name here before. I am planning on growing sorghum for syrup. Tips? Zone 9, Central Valley. Can it be used in place of blackstrap for aerated compost tea? It looks to be lower in iron, but anything else to keep in mind? Okay, I've done this before. Many years ago, when I was growing at the Temple Garden, I grew sorghum, okay? Here's my experience with it, is that it grows like grass. It grows prolifically. Very good. Loves some high nitro, okay? Loves good, rich soil. Don't pay attention to what they say about it needs benign soil. It needs rich soil. It will grow 8-9 feet. It grows big. But here was my dilemma, harvesting it, okay? So you see immediately the marvel of modern technology as far as harvesting goes, because to thrash that stuff is a huge pain. It's very laborious. And so unless you have either a mechanized way to harvest it, or you have what they used to have, like a whole village of people to help do it, it's like a ridiculous joke trying to harvest, thrash enough, and sort it enough to make an actual syrup. Took a tremendous amount of work to harvest enough just to make a little tiny thing of. It was just not good. It was just not good, in my experience. Maybe you will have better experience. Maybe you're into that part. Maybe you want to spend the time out in the sun, drying it on the tarp, thrashing it, and stuff like that. Which that is great. You know, it will definitely grow well so long as you irrigate it in the Central Valley. I mean, it'll grow fantastic, and it'll dry real easy too. Yes, you can use it in place of blackstrap. Definitely. The sugarcane plant is actually more efficient at ripping nutrients from the earth than sorghum is. Now, that being said, it'll be just fine for aerated compost teas. Yes, if you make it properly. Yes. Blackstrap is higher. Blackstrap is so high in so many nutrients because the sugarcane is such a marvel of soaking up nutrients into it. Yeah. That's why things like jaggery, you know, raw, whole state sugar, basically, not really sugar, but it's like, it's just, they juice the sugarcane plant and then boil it down until it's like a thick paste and then let it harden and then break it up and use it. That stuff is very high in vitamins and minerals. It's really good for you. It's got all the nutrients in it. It's only once we start refining until we just get this white crystalline powder that is devoid of anything but the exact sugar molecules that short circuits the taste buds, you know? Melanie McManus says, wasn't impressed with Miracle Grow Organics. Prefer Gaia's products. Well, you haven't tried the Viking nutrients, that's for sure, because we will pillage those products as far as performance goes, okay? Yeah, Sister G, opinion of Mr. B's green trees. Hey, I used that stuff for years. We spent thousands on, we would get pallets at a certain grow operation. We would get pallets of that stuff. So it's good. It's definitely good. It will be no more expensive than that. We'll say that, okay? And in my opinion, it's better. It's better. It is. Because it's more, Mr. B's green trees are fantastic for certain crops. You know, but it's not, it's a little imbalanced for vegetable crops, whereas this is designed for vegetable crops. It's comparable though. I mean, it would be comparable, okay? I'm not going to bash it. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so what was I going to... okay, I want to explain to you guys a few things, all right? So Bootstrap Farmer, I finally reached out to them and stuff and was like, you know, hey, you want to like make a little deal, you know, kind of thing. And so because I've already been using their stuff for several years, and so we were like, yeah, this will be cool. So I'm part of their little program now, which they have a very small social media following, or I mean, social media. They only work with a handful of people, which I really like the company so far, and I've loved their products. So we got a thing where if you use the links in the description of the videos that I'll put out now, I get a small kickback. The price doesn't change for you guys either way. I mean, top of the line stuff often doesn't have a lot of big sales, you know. The price is pretty steady. So that's the thing. If you guys want to up level your stuff, use the links in the description. I'll get a small kickback that'll help the channel, and you will get top of the line products. Okay. And so let me just go over this real quick because it is seed starting time. All right. Now, so many people. Okay. I do garden consultations all the time. Okay. So let me remind you guys, I do garden consultations all the time. Okay. And so I talk with a lot of people and I see their dilemmas, and it's they're seed starting, they always want to start seeds. I don't know why, because they're on Pinterest or something. They always want to start seeds in like egg cartons or in toilet paper rolls or in like, little tiny little things like this. And they're like, well, I'm going to up pot that. And then I'm going to up pot it again to these other big ones. Now that's nothing against them, okay? Because they're new. They don't understand. So I'm just being a bit humorous about it. But the thing is that you want to plant your indoor stuff in their final resting place, indoors. So I never up pot anything. I never up pot anything indoors. Okay? You don't need that stress to the plant. You don't, unless you're a commercial grower who already has their system down and who already understands, root mass and water buffering capabilities of the growing media, who understands all this stuff and has a need to cram as many starts as possible in a small area. Unless you're that type of grower, then you don't need those tiny little 200 cell trays, and you don't need to fit 72 seeds into one tiny little thing. Now, that being said, I do have several of these and have used them over the years, okay? But I've got my system down, Now, am I going to be using them this year? No, I'm actually not. Because there's just, these are high quality though. They really are. The Bootstrap Farmer ones, these will last like pretty much forever. I don't see anything happening to these. They are solid. So, and they got these holes. So if you do need these kind, and you know that you need these kind, this is really good because they've got air holes in the sides to air prune the roots. But for most of you guys, I actually wouldn't recommend these because you start something in there and you've got a very small window of opportunity to where it's just big enough to plant. And then you've got a small window to where it's too big and it's all root bound and it's all stressed out, or to where it's so big, which isn't really that big in this tiny little thing, but it'll get to the point where you'll water it in the morning and it will be bone dry by the evening, because it just sucks up all that moisture and sucks up all the nutrients. So for most of you guys, don't use anything smaller than these, okay? These 2.5-inch pots, okay? Don't use anything smaller than these. This is actually quite a bit of space, all right? So for most things, this is what you will need. And this setup is, I'm not just saying that, it's fantastic, okay? Let me put this Rejuvelac over here. This is, okay, Serena says, Nate, this is the third time asking this question, so hopefully you will answer it this time. How much Neptune's crab shell plant food should I put in each planting hole or row for raised beds and when? Okay, I am not familiar with Neptune's crab shell plant food. I'm not. So I would have to see I would have to research that. I would have to see what it's made of and how hot it is and how, I would have to see many things because I can't say. So I would just say follow what's ever on the back of the instructions. Crab shell is going to be a great plant food though, but it by itself is not a standalone thing. So I would add alfalfa meal in with that, yes, and probably probably azomite. So between those, you would have some really good thing. But I can't say without knowing exactly what's in it and what plants you're trying to grow. So sorry. Look to Nature says, up potting definition, the step you take when you didn't time your sprouts correctly. It's true, pretty much it's true. So here's the thing, get you some of these guys. Pretty much everything that I'm going to be growing this year will be in these, okay? This is all you need for most plants. So cabbages, collard greens, any of your leafy greens, any of your flowers, any of your, virtually anything. This is plenty of soil for them, all right? There's a decent amount of soil in that, okay? So you don't want to start too early, but you will not be up potting these. And you can get 32 in each one, okay? Nice, healthy transplants. Fill them to the top, water it in there, plant what you need, okay? And they're going to thrive. Now, for things like tomatoes and peppers, okay, that are going to spend longer indoors, I want to show you a thing that I just learned about actually this year. sent me some of these, and I didn't even know that they had them. But these are actually made in the USA, which for this kind of thing is pretty much unheard of. So they're made in the USA, and look, here is they've got 3.3 inch pots now. I was like, whoa. And these things are amazingly heavy duty. Look at the bottom of those, okay? Nice, heavy duty. And they've got this insert, which is also heavy duty, that goes, they all fit into like this, okay? And look, it's not even bending. And I mean, look, it's seriously heavy duty, which is why I love these things, because I spent so many years with the garbage tomato trays and just busting them. You lift it up and they bend and break, and you step on it once, it's busted, you know, and you just basically plan on replacing them all every year, at least every other year. With these, I've had these trays here, these bottom ones, for years now, 4 years now, and going strong. So these are what we're going to use for our tomatoes and peppers, possibly our cucumbers and squash and watermelon, probably our cucumber, squash, and watermelon. Okay, so these, now think of this, guys. Now, how many of you guys are math? Let's see. Half Grid Homestead says, that looks like I would not like that hard small tray thing. Why is that? You're talking about this thing here? This is actually a really good tray, if that's what you need, but most of you guys do not need that, okay? You don't want that. The Prodigal Gardener says, I use Neptune's crab shell to assist with root knot nematodes. I sprinkle a little in each hole when transplanting. Thank you. There you go. Wayne Caroli says, you did this with the solo cups like 2 years ago. Exactly. Yeah. I was just getting into these trays. It was like 3 years ago now. I know. But I used to use the solo cups, and that's because I had no money to invest at that time. And these, you can go to Costco and get a huge bag for like $8. All right. And so I've got videos where I took a hot iron, took the blowtorch, you know, put holes through each of these, and they work. They work as seed starting things, okay? But they have serious drawbacks. Their one positive is that they're virtually free, okay? That's their one positive. But after that, it pretty much stops because they're, oops, I just broke it. It's got a crack in it now. Oops, got another crack. Okay, so that's going to be useless. You know, everything's going to leak out of it, or soil's going to fall out of it. So there's that. One drawback. Another drawback is that you try and put them into the trays, and they are, let's set this over here. You try and put them into the trays, okay, and they just kind of shake around, they fall over. I had so many fall over the years, and you got to go back out there and set them up, and they're dying and stuff. And then when you plant them out, inevitably a windstorm comes in or something, they blows them around. Now they look like trash, literal pieces of trash all over the garden. And they're not, you know, these, you hardly see them at all. They look professional, clean. These look like garbage, literal garbage. And so, and then I try reusing them, and after being out in the sun for even just one seed starting session, they're just toast. They're just toasted. You have to use them. I mean, some of them I use 2 years, but then they disintegrate. When you try and put your hand in them, they just disintegrate, microplastics all over the place. So if you have any money at all to invest in a long-term seed starting thing, then highly recommend these things, because when you break it down over 5 or 10 years, I don't know how long they'll last. It feels like 10 years. The cost goes way down. Okay. So, now that's my thoughts on that. Okay. So if you guys want this stuff, I put the links in the description. Go ahead and get them, because you're going to use them. It's just the way to go. If you want a professional seed starting setup, like where you don't have to mess with stuff breaking all the time and falling over, and you just want to be done with it, then just boom. then you can just use this stuff. Okay. Now they do make they sent me some of these 5-inch pots, and they've got holders for the 5-inch pots as well. But these we're not going to use for the springtime. These we're going to use for the fall garden, because that's too much soil. If you're starting up in the spring in this, you did something wrong. You're not planning right, because you do not need it to be that big in the springtime. The reason that we will use this for the fall garden is because we don't know exactly when the fall garden is going to be able to get planted. So we need that buffering zone, because I've had cabbages get big before I could plant them. And we need to make sure that we have plenty of root space. So for many of the fall garden things, we're going to start up with this. Gives us a lot more leeway. It's a lot more forgiving. Okay. So it's let's see here. Nolan Robinson, do you know what lower tape fade is? I don't know what that is. No, but sounds like a spam bot to me, this person, Nolan Robinson. See, I put on the setting, I think, that everyone can join, not just subscribers. I might have done that. So, I don't know. But whatever. More comments. So, Be About It Farm says, I still use solo cups. Definitely have to bring them in once the season is over to reuse them. Yes, definitely. But I got over the tipping over of them. Just one big windstorm or something, and you're trying to harden them off, they'll all fall over. Or you move it, and I'm just done. Just done with it. If you've got the money to invest, then do it. Because this is a way of life. I mean, if growing your own high quality food is a way of life, then it's a no-brainer, you know. But I mean, I'm not trying to sell you on them. I'm trying to make your life easier. That's the thing. So let's see here. Yes. Let us ban that guy, whoever that was. So we just did. Okay. Brad Armstrong says worth the investment. Yes. That is, let's see here, worth the investment. Lisa Brown, Nate, can we use wood ash in the seed starting mix if I can't find the lime locally? You should definitely be able to find the lime, but yes, you can use wood ash. Be careful, because there's such variability in the concentration of the nutrients. But wood ash would be fine, yes. Now, you will want to make sure of a couple things. One, that it has not been rained on, all right? Because that will wash out most of the water-soluble nutrients that we want and the pH buffering capabilities. But you will want to use roughly twice the amount as the lime because it's so much fluffier. Okay, so we used a half cup of lime in the recipe. Use a cup of wood ash. Okay. Yeah, use a cup of wood ash. But like if you've got the Viking granular nutrients and you're trying to do outdoor beds or something, you don't need to add lime because it's all already in there. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, Tanya Grushuk says, what are some advice if you plant tomatoes earlier than you should have? Trying to get them to slow down growing. Yeah, see, you don't want that actually. So this is why it's so important to wait and plant in the right time, because we want the trajectory of growth to be like this, nice and smooth. We don't want them to sprout, grow, and then try and slow down, and then try and grow again, and then slow down. That stresses them out, you know. And these are like delicate little plants, you know. These plants don't actually exist in nature by themselves, so they're genetically kind of weak, you know. And so we because for thousands of years they've been bred, you know, they've been selected by humans, not just by last season, you know, or next season. I'm talking for years and years. And so we want their growth to be like that, all right? If you looked at it on a chart. Now, the tomatoes, though, are one of the very few things that, fortunately, you can up pot them. They will be fine. So if you started them, like, and so many people that I see will start their tomatoes like right now in zone 5 and 6. They'll start them, you know, because they heard somebody is starting them now or something. They'll start a bunch of them in these tiny little things, or in like those, you know, little eggshell thing, egg cartons, and they'll quickly outgrow that. Now, fortunately, tomatoes you can transplant. So let's say that you have a tomato plant that's getting too big and it's gonna, you know, you got a tiny little root zone and a big old plant now in there. So you need to up pot that thing, pull it out. And if you see the roots wrapping around like that, is what you do. Pull it out, rough up those roots. Okay, rough up the roots. You can be rough with them. All right, you can be. They will. Many people don't know this, but you can actually top the roots in the same way that you can top the tops. So, like, if you know what topping is, the similar kind of thing happens in the root zone. If you do it correctly, you can make much bushier, more vigorous roots by roughing them up. But that's for a masterclass. But anyways, you pull it out, rough up the roots, and then plant it all the way as deep as it can go and bury the stem. Okay, the tomato will put out more roots and it will continue growing. So long as there's a couple leaves out up top, let's say your tomato plant was that long, pull it out, rough up the roots, put it all the way to the bottom, put soil all the way around it so that the top is just sticking out like that much. Okay, just sticking out like that. So there's a couple sets of leaves and it will grow. It will fill this whole pot with roots and it will continue growing. Don't slow down its growth. Okay, you're going to make them unhappy that way. Yes, Wayne, it is a Bootstrap system. That's correct. Links in the description. Check it out, guys, if you want that, okay? Yeah, oh, I totally agree. Look to Nature says the community needs to grow, but maintain its serenity and calling. Absolutely. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Yes, finally, someone else said it. Queen RB says solo cups out of the question as far as logistics, especially when hardening off. Not worth the headache. That's why I'm so vehemently, is that the right word? Promoting this system, because too many years of messing around with this system. And it's just got me PTSD as far as all your plants falling over and getting roasted in the sun, not realizing it until later, and the tomatoes are already trying to grow back vertical, laying down. It's just a big mess. You never have a single one fall over. Not one plant will fall over. When you're carrying it in the tray or out of the tray, not a single one will fall over when they've got these things to go into. And I had that experience the past several years, and not a single one of these things fell over. Okay? You can take this whole tray and be confident that not a one of them is going to fall over. So that is another plus. Okay? Now, a lot of you guys have asked me, okay, after the last video, a lot of you guys have asked me about the soil blocks. Now, the soil blocks are still, the video I made and all the talk I did about the soil blocks, all of that still pertains. It hasn't changed. Soil blocks still make very healthy transplants, okay? They're still a very good method of planting. I mean, no doubt. They just use soil. There's no pots whatsoever. And so you just pack, I mean, I've made a couple videos on it years ago, and you just pack the soil in there, boom. And you get these cubes, 2x2 cubes of just soil. And for the most part, it stays together. You know, if you do it right, it stays together. And you can plant things in it. Now, it does produce very healthy seedlings. The reason I don't use it anymore is purely preference. It takes too much time for me on the scale that I need stuff. To sit there and make these things takes a long time. Okay, you have to really be you have to really not want to use the plastic, you know, in order to okay, but I'm going to take 5 times, 10 times the amount of time that it would take me to make these and use this. I don't know, about 10 times, but it just takes so much longer. And I'm just, If you just have a small amount, you know, then that's fine. But for me, to do this entire tray takes me about as much as it would take to do, you know, two batches, two of these. It's not really, I never developed that fast. It was like the faster I tried to go, the more they would just fall apart and stuff. So I tried it I did it many different ways for years. And I like them. I definitely like them. They still produce very healthy plants. They're still a wonderful option. But for me, I'm just way more about these pots because it's just so easy. If you watch the video I made a couple days ago, you know, I just have a big tub of media that I mixed up, put in there, put in there, put in there, I mean, just like that. So it's just so easy. And if I'm being totally honest with myself, I feel like compressing them into the blocks is not ultimately that advantageous. I feel like it does produce issues. It can. This is so light and fluffy. Lots of airspace in there. And you can't really use the same mix in the soil blocks. You'd have to greatly reduce the perlite. So there's drawbacks. You know, there's pros and cons to both. But that's why I don't use them anymore. Because once I found this system, I'm never looking back. There's no need to go to anything else for me, you know. Okay, yeah, good. Use it. Use it up. Serena says, Nate, did you see the info on Gardner Scott's new book? I posted it 3 times. I did not. So, but if you had posted it here, a 4th, I would have seen it. Yes, thank you. Meyer Lemons, $10. Thank you, my friend. Says, I have Bootstrap 1020 and need the shallow bottom trays. Which ones do you use exactly? Just figured out how to do this. How to super chat? Thank you. So the which ones do you use exactly? Okay, so here's the thing. Now, if you're getting the small ones, you have to be sure that you get the microgreens, the shallow microgreen trays with no holes in them. Okay, these don't work with the standard 1020 trays. If it's the 32 cell pack, all right, the link in the description will help you sort all that out. It can come as a package. If you're trying to get these the 2.5, it can come as a package. But if you're using these other ones, the 3.5 or the 5s, they can use the normal 10 by 20 tray. Okay, so that's the distinction. They can use the normal 10 by 20 tray. The other ones can, but they won't touch the bottom. So it's not possible to bottom water that way. You remember a couple years ago, I was like, man, these things aren't really working for me all that well. And someone was like, you need to use the microgreens trays. I'm like, oh, whoops. So, but for these, the bigger ones, either of the bigger size pots, you can use just the standard trays. All right. So keep that in mind. You don't need any specialized trays for that. Okay. You can just use this, goes right into here, and they touch the bottom, and you can bottom water, keep the tops nice and dry, keep everything nice and dry. Okay. So thank you for the contribution. Let's see. So let's see here. Brad Armstrong says, do you know fruit trees? I am just gaining experience with fruit trees. We just planted our first orchard last year, and we had heavy deer pressure, and so we're going to make things so that doesn't happen this year, but I am gaining the experience. Yeah, we're going to put a lot more into that this year as far as getting the conditions right. But I don't have enough. I mean, in California, we had fruit trees everywhere, but they were established, and so I wasn't in charge of them. Now, though, I am gaining firsthand experience doing it. So there's that, but I can't speak on them yet. Right. DSR says, what do you use to keep the white flies away from tomatoes and peppers? Now, that is a good question. And the best thing to use, in my experience, is the bloom booster that I made a video of. The bat guano, seabird guano, earthworm casting, that mixture is the ultimate because it's got a certain ingredients in it, that help to strengthen the plant's immune system and help to defend against pests and diseases. So last year we got no disease, no pests whatsoever. Okay. Remember though, if you watch some of my videos from last year, you might look at it and you go, "Well, I see dead leaves on that plant." That's because when you do it the way that I do it, where you plant them in a cage and let them go wild, you never prune. I never prune the tomatoes, in this method. Okay, I've done the string method, I've done all the methods, but this is the one that I like because it produces the best, healthiest plants when you're not cutting off a bunch of stuff. You just let them go. Okay, but I got not standard cages. I've got serious heavy-duty cages I built from concrete reinforcement mesh. Okay. But you plant it, one plant, let it go wild, okay? And so if you look at some of those videos, you will see, well, there's dead leaves on that plant. That's not a disease. The tomato plant will self-prune. It will do that over the course of the year. Leaves that are no longer useful, or that if it's stressed by water, lack of water, it will start dropping the leaves that are not essential. Mostly it'll be in the interior, the ones that are not getting a lot of the sunlight. And so that will happen. That will just naturally happen even in a very healthy plant. So don't worry about it, okay? But the growing tips are fresh and vibrant, standing nice and perky, lots of life force. The fruit is just ripening beautifully. Although that being said, okay, about the fertilizer, I put a quart in each 2x2, 2.5 by 2.5 bed. There was a bit of cat facing on the Cherokee Purple tomatoes, and that comes from overdose of fertilizer. So there was a little bit of cat facing on the tomatoes, which is it's not ideal, but I was still experimenting with the appropriate amounts of this stuff. So, Napkins lol. Sup, dude? Recently discovered your channel and have watched several videos. Great stuff. Yes, thank you, my friend. Welcome to the channel. Yes, Half Grid Homestead says, agree, solo cups suck, but cheap. Sucks a lot. Yeah, that's the main thing. And I get that, man. I totally get that. When I came back from the mountains, the number one guiding factor was cost of everything. I had zero money to invest in anything. I just knew that I needed to be growing my food. And so for that, there's nothing finer than the JDOM system. Sorry, guys. There's nothing finer than the JDOM system for that and solo cups and things like that. Okay. The JDOM is the cheapest because it's designed for profit gardening, where you have to minimize those margins, or the cost and things. So the JDOM system allows you to, it's not free by any means, but it's cheap. It's the cheapest of a system, So that with the solo cups and the soil blocks, things like that. So that was the guiding factor. And when money is the guiding factor, that's the only thing that matters. If you don't have the money, you just don't have it. So it doesn't matter if you want these pots or not. It doesn't matter because you don't have the money. So that's your guiding factor. But once you do get a bit, then you're like, okay, I'm willing to invest. It's an investment, yeah, in your health, which if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. You don't have anything. So, okay. The Prodigal Gardener says there are 1 million soil blocks on Amazon. Now this one is the like the old school. These are made in England. This is the real brand. Made in England. Lab Drool 98 LTD. Bidford on Avon. Okay. It even has their phone number on it. 01789773898. There's their phone number. But these are the real deal. They're like $75, but they're like indestructible. I mean, they'll last a long time. So, Okay, so, ooh, we are past time already, man. We have, yeah, so Darth X, what kind of special soil would you need to have for a soil blocker to keep it together and not fall apart? Well, the best thing is pretty much just peat moss and earthworm castings, because the perlite makes it fall apart. It really does. So peat moss, earthworm castings, and lime, a little bit of lime. That's the recipe. Yeah, I don't know about that, Big Wes. KNF is Rolls Royce. J Dom is Toyota. Yeah, okay. I mean, okay, kind of. I could see that a little bit, but the J Dom is really just distilled KNF. So you could say that. Well, I'd have to think of that analogy, but the KNF has got all kinds of super complicated stuff for the people that love to be like mad scientists. They love making little things of potions and little extracts and stuff and giving this exact ratios to the plants and all that. I get that. I was like that for many years. That's how you gain all this knowledge and stuff. But J Dom, the son of the creator of KNF, was like, hey, Dad, can't we just like bypass all these complicated steps and just kind of go right to the source and just simplify and streamline the whole process, yet still get pretty much the same results? Yes, we can. So let's do this. And I'll call it JDOM instead. That's basically what happened. Okay. But the guys and I'm sure Big West is one of these, the guys that love making potions, they're going to swear by KNF till the last day, for sure. So they both work. They're both fantastic. They're both utilizing the soil food web, the laws of nature. They're both regenerative. They're both wonderful. Yeah. Although you better be prepared to buy pallets of sugar if you're doing KNF on any kind of scale. So, yes, there we go, Serena. Got it. Gardener Scott's Guide to Raised Bed Gardening, paperback. He's going to be on the show here in a couple weeks, definitely. Let's see. What is Look to Nature? What are we talking about here? I want to get that question answered. Look to Nature. Oh, I don't know. Okay, guys. So listen, if you did I miss any? Let's see here. Ooh, Taylor Reindl. Yes. $10. Thank you, my friend. Didn't get to make my FAA for this year. What's a replacement? What did you use last year? Okay, if you didn't get to make the FAA and you don't want to make the putrid, rancid smelling ones of the JDOM, you can make the hydrolysate. It doesn't take that long before it becomes relatively bearable. The JDOM smells like putrid death indefinitely, basically, for a long time. But the FAA never smells bad. So if you didn't get those things, then the Neptune's Harvest Hydrolysate is a really good one. Okay, the Neptune's Harvest Hydrolysate is a really good one. I also have a thing of the Alaska Fish Emulsion. I'm not that into it. I can just tell it's just unfinished. It's just kind of, I'm not that into it. Although it's much cheaper. But if money is not the guiding factor and quality is the guiding factor, then the Neptune's Harvest Hydrolysate that's what I personally got last year. But man, it's like $48 for one jug. And someone like me will go through that in no time, Alberto, $2. Okay, my friend. So you did hear me shout out to you. Yes. Killing it like a Vikings battle axe, my friend. Yes. Yes. We should talk soon. Nate J, Myerlin. Okay, so I got all the super chats. Good. Okay, guys. So let us. Nancy DeWalt says, did you get my 10? Let me see. Look at that. Oh, and Matthew Hopkins. Gosh, guys. Okay, let's see right here. Nancy D. Wall, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Probably just wants to hear me say the name, right? Am I saying it right? Nancy D. Wald. Thank you for the consistent contribution, my friend. Yes, I got it. I appreciate that. Also, Matthew Hopkins, thank you very much, my friend. Let's see here. Whoops. Let's see, $20 for the land fund. Thank you. Says shout out to Beach by Repeat. Shout out to Beach by Repeat. Cheers. I am the Frugalist 8A Gardening and Clay. Okay, yes. I keep forgetting you change your name to that. Your profile picture and your name, that's how I know you. So you have to, don't be switching things up that much. But thank you very much for the contribution, my friend. And guys, when we get the land, there will be so much good content coming. It's going to be crazy. But for now, we just got to focus on securing the revenue streams that will then finance the land. So that's what these video courses I'm creating. That's what these fertilizers, that's what it's all about. So that's our main focus in life. Okay. So, okay, guys. Thank you very much. And remember, if you're doing your shopping on Amazon, if you shop on Amazon, do it through the Viking Storefront link. If you're buying stuff, okay, bookmark the Viking Storefront. It's in the video description. Get to Amazon through there, and then in that browser window, anything that you purchase, we will get the credit for it. So it's not a lot, but it's better than Amazon keeping all the money. So we appreciate you doing that. That's the easiest way to help the channel, where you're already buying stuff on Amazon. Just do it through that link. And Benjamin Aaron says, how do we go about setting up a consultation? Just give me an email. Hit me up, gardenlikeaviking@gmail. Okay. Beach by Repeat. Yes, shout out. What's up, Tony? Simplified Gardening. Yes, just made a great video about seed starting. Grandpa told him a good lesson, definitely. And guys, remember the Urban Gardener has got a podcast after this. You guys can check that out. Don't let the party end now. And what was I in the middle of saying? Oh yeah, about that Amazon thing. Don't forget that, guys. Seriously. It's like an effortless way to help out the channel, okay? And there will be a website coming real soon about how to buy these fertilizers. Don't worry. I've got a shed packed full of thousands of pounds of this stuff, okay? Thousands of pounds. It's already purchased. It's already here. So I'm getting rid of it, all right? So it's for sure. No matter what, if I get that fertilizer, well, whatever. No matter what, we're selling it. So you can count on that, okay? If that's what you want, okay? So, all right, guys. We will see you next time.